I want to ask you another question before we move to our final question, which is our question of the day. But I would be remiss if I did not ask you this question now that since I have an opportunity to speak with a brilliant mind and a thoughtful human being as yourself. So recently, there's a group called the Restitution Study Group. They're based in New York, and they have filed a suit against the Smithsonian because the Smithsonian has, their board, voted to return the Benin bronzes back to the Kingdom of Benin, to Nigeria. And they were instrumental also in the slave trade. And so I believe the issue is about, they're called, the bronzes were taken from, the name escapes me, but they look like these horseshoe-shaped, these horseshoes metal things or iron things, and they melted them down and turned them into these bronzes, the Benin bronzes. So the Smithsonian recently sent 29 of them back to Nigeria, to the Kingdom of Benin, and so the Restitution Study Group is now currently in a lawsuit to either have them returned or not send any more there. Their argument is that they belong here, which goes to what I was telling you about the group. A lot of people who could say we're foundational black people. We're the ones who experienced slavery, chattel slavery in this country. The Benin Kingdom sold us for these bronzes. And so why should these bronzes go back to the hands that sold us to this country? And so that's their argument. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that African Americans have a right to these artifacts that were sold by African nations in exchange for human beings? They're the ones who experienced slavery. So why should they go back to the people who benefited from slavery? What are your thoughts on that? Do you think they have a legitimate argument? Do you think the bronzes should return? Do you think they should stay here? They're worth millions and millions of dollars. And so part of the argument is this could be used as part of reparations talks. This could be used as an education for African Americans to understand where they come from, and even the topic of Africans playing a role in the slave trade. That's an uncomfortable topic for a lot of people to talk about, and so there's a lot of avenues to explore. So what do you think about that? Do you think was that a good move on the Smithsonian to send it back? Or do you think these bronzes, they're called, should stay here? And by the way, the horseshoe item is called the Manila. So they used these Manilas, and the Benin Kingdom eventually melted them down, made these incredible masks, and these bronzes. They're just incredible. So what are your thoughts?
I have to thank you for introducing to me something I had no idea about, something new. I had never heard of the new knowledge. I thank you. The knowledge that there are Americans who are making the argument that those things belong here because they are those countries. That is an argument that never came across here. So thank you for that. It makes the issue extremely more interesting than I ever it would be. So what did I know before you made this remark? What I knew was that there has been a movement of African countries demanding things that Europeans had taken out of Africa, especially colonialism. There are so many things.
Yes.
The chief paraphernalia of the chiefs, golden so on and so on. And also the Germans were trying to impose their rule on African countries. The people resisted them, and there was bloody fight against colonialism, the colonial invasion, and the German used to hang the chiefs. They hanged many leaders of this uprising. So many. I can take my home district to my home region in southern Tanzania. We will show you first grave where they hang many of our chiefs. Yes. You go around here, for example, people show you big trees from which the Germans used to hang our people. I look at images of meetings in the USA. The same photographs you get if you go into the history of the country. You would think it was the American South. So anyway, what the Germans do, they would cut off the head of the chief and take it to Germany. There are many scars. There are many scars for our chiefs in Germany. And Africans have been demanding the return of these remains. Apart from objects like the paraphernalia of chiefdom, all these, objects like gold and things like that in Ghana. They also commercial objects that are very important. So there have been demands in countries for the return of this from museums in many big library in Europe, London Museum, and so on. Now we come to the Smithsonian thing. The Smithsonian has done those things. It forced me into the pattern that I've already talked about. The demand of Africans to have those things returned. And therefore, that act returning things from the Smithsonian back to where it came from. However, the element you have introduced makes me think. Because now we consider there are millions of black people here, and in the Caribbean, and in South America, and we call them the African diaspora. I think the name was the same thing. Maybe the African diaspora and continental African should have agreed so we can address this thing. Because part of Africa is here now. We for Caribbean people, Afro-Suriname people, Afro-Brazilian, Haiti, Jamaica. So I think we have to those things. We should have a meeting and divide. Okay. I really am thinking, but you have been thinking along lines that I know I've not said before. So thank you for telling me that. It's a very element in the equation.
Professor, I felt when I first heard about the story, about the lawsuit, I was like, well, that's strange. Why? I was in the same mind as you that no, they belong back in Africa. That's what I thought. But once I spoke with the executive director, which we did an interview, Deidre, she really enlightened me as well, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I agree. I think those who have experienced chattel slavery certainly deserve to hold on to the artifacts that were sold in exchange of them. I mean, that's fair. So yeah, it's certainly something to think about as we advance into a more harmonious future and a better humanity. I hope we can. Sometimes I get very nervous about the direction we're going, but I know that there's plenty of good that's happening in the world, even though the debauchery and the bad is very loud. But anyways, I'm gonna once again in a minute I will also post our conversation here on my website ePluribusAmerica.com, and so folks will have a link to your study guide that they can click on, and it'll take them directly there. And we have reached the end of our show, and we don't end without a question of the day. So I will get to the question of the day, and which has something to do with the topic at hand. We just watched the video. The question is, should other African countries also apologize for their role in slavery?
President Museveni has done the right thing, I believe, and I think will go down well with the descendants of slaves.
Yeah.
For that reason, the development by the African countries would be in order. For some reason, maintaining mutual understanding and feelings between us. Because not everybody has had history or will have to read history deeply. No, the people who do scholars like me, not the regular guy in the street. And we cannot meet a regular guy has understood the whole history. Make that a plug-in, and let's get on with it. Before the battle, as soon as possible, we can continue with everything. We'll continue inviting Americans to our continent, and they'll come for this African lady issue. That's enough. Yeah. Academic thing, leave it to us. Okay. So yeah, would be a good idea. And those who are mindful in the history will pursue what I've just said. But the history is important in order to alleviate bitterness against Africa. Because Africans who come here have again been confronted by African Americans who say you sold that slavery.
Yeah.
And there's ignorance on both sides, anger, bitterness, and that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. But I do know apologies are in order from all sides. I think especially from those who continue to benefit from the benefit of the slave trade and slavery, because that still is that's what still keeps our world imbalanced. And so those conversations are important, and we can't have them without sincere apologies. So we're making inroads, at least. I think this was so big of the president. I think it was like it was, to me, it was very just very special, very interesting, very special thing that he did. I'm very surprised by it. I wasn't expecting it. But it really also, just like hearing the argument about the return of the Benin bronzes, it intrigued me. I was like, okay, because I was one of the ones who also was very adamant about the fact that there was a big difference between African slavery and European slavery. And even the Arab slavery. The Arabs are also played a very, very big part in slavery, which is something we don't always talk about. But they also have their fair share,
very much
of fault to take, and apologies to make as well. And it's unfortunate that we don't talk enough about that. And sometimes you see it also coming out, and with this movie, the Cleopatra movie, and where there was a black woman plays Cleopatra. Some of the folks in Egypt were so angry. Some of these Arab people were just incredibly angry, and it was just so shocking that they almost seem to have forgotten history, and that Egypt is in Africa, and that it is more likely that Cleopatra looked like this black woman than the white woman who used to play her. What's her name? a beautiful white woman.
Mm-hmm.
You know who I'm talking. Elizabeth Taylor. See,
Mm-hmm.
they want. That's the image that they had. No one came out and yelled about Elizabeth Taylor playing Cleopatra, but they're so. One of the gentlemen who came on, I don't know who he was speaking with, maybe CNN. He was so angry that he looked just incredibly evil and angry. I couldn't believe it, and I just was really a little disappointed by that because there's still this ongoing push to Europeanize Egypt, in spite of the fact that Egypt is right smack in Africa.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. So,
Yeah.
but anyways, Professor Mbele, it was another wonderful and enlightening and almost spiritual conversation with you, full of knowledge. I'm so grateful you have created a guide for folks to follow because it looks like things are getting really serious, especially with this apology, with more welcoming. I mean, Ghana has open space, other countries are opening space and welcoming, even calling on African Americans to return home. So I think your guide is coming at a very, very important time, and I want to thank you very much for your time, your dedication, and your commitment to empowering us.
Thank you very much for having me again. It's been another wonderful experience.
Thank you very much. And I would like to thank all you other folks as well for joining me today. I sincerely appreciate it. I'm Jeanette Lenoir with ePluribusAmerica, and this is Our American Culture.